Far beyond the busy towns and wide roads, a narrow stone path traveled slowly through a line of gentle hills. The path curved along the land as if it had been placed there carefully, following the natural shape of the valley. Tall grass grew beside the stones, moving softly when the evening air passed through the hills. Small trees stood along the slopes, their branches forming quiet shapes against the fading sky. Travelers rarely walked this road at night. The path led to a quiet place where the hills met a wide valley filled with slow drifting fog. At the far edge of that fog stood a small inn built of pale stone and dark wood. From a distance, its lanterns appeared like small warm stars resting near the ground. The road reached the inn after passing through the hills and descending gently toward the valley floor. Along the way, the air grew cooler and the fog began to gather across the land in soft gray layers. The path remained clear, however, as if it had always known how to guide travelers safely to the quiet inn waiting at the edge of the fog. Near the end of the stone path stood a tall wooden post holding a single lantern. The lantern hung from a curved iron hook and glowed softly above the road. Its light spread across the stones and the nearby grass, forming a calm circle of warmth in the cool evening air. Beyond the lantern, the valley opened wide, and the fog could be seen resting across the fields like a gentle white river flowing slowly across the land. The inn stood just ahead, its roof rising above the drifting mist. Its windows shone with warm yellow light that reflected faintly in the fog. The lantern beside the road swayed only slightly as the night air moved across the valley. The quiet glow of the lantern marked the final turn in the road. After passing it, the stone path led directly toward the inn doors. The fog moved slowly along the ground but never covered the road completely. It simply drifted around the stones and slipped quietly past the lantern post before continuing across the valley floor. The inn itself stood where the hills ended and the wide, foggy valley began. Its walls were built from smooth gray stones, carefully stacked and fitted together many years ago. A wooden roof stretched over the top, its beams darkened by time and weather. The inn was not large, but it was wide and welcoming, with a front porch that looked out across the valley. Several lanterns hung along the porch beams, each one glowing softly against the wooden posts. Their light warmed the stone steps leading up to the door. The fog drifted quietly across the open fields in front of the inn. From the porch, the valley looked like a wide sea of silver mist stretching into the distance. Above the fog, the night sky remained clear and filled with stars. The inn rested exactly at the point where the land met the slow drifting fog. It had stood there for many seasons, quietly watching the fog move across the valley night after night. The porch of the inn stretched across the front of the building. Its wooden boards were smooth from many years of use. A few rocking chairs rested beside the wall, their curved runners touching the floor lightly. Small tables stood beside them, each one holding a lantern or a small glass jar with dried flowers. From the porch rail, the fog could be seen moving gently across the valley below. Sometimes it rolled in slow waves between the distant hills. Other times it rested quietly, like a still lake beneath the night sky. The lanterns along the porch beams cast warm circles of light across the wood and stone, their glow reflected softly in the nearby windows. The inn remained calm and quiet at this hour of the night. The only movement came from the drifting fog and the faint sway of lantern light along the porch. Inside the inn, a wide common room filled the center of the building. Wooden beams crossed the ceiling above, and a long stone fireplace rested against one wall. The fire burned slowly there, its soft glow warming the room with gentle orange light. Tables stood along the wooden floor, each one surrounded by simple chairs. A large rug covered part of the floor near the fire, woven in calm patterns of dark red and gold. Shelves along the walls held books, lanterns, and small objects collected over many years. The room felt warm and steady, as if it had welcomed many quiet evenings like this one. A large window looked out toward the foggy valley, and through that window the drifting mist could still be seen moving slowly across the fields. Inside the room, the firelight moved gently along the beams and walls, while the rest of the inn remained peaceful and still. At the far end of the common room, a wooden staircase curved gently upward toward the second floor. The steps were wide and smooth, each one worn slightly at the center where many feet had passed over time. A lantern hung from a hook beside the stairs, lighting the way upward with a soft glow. The upper hallway held several doors leading to quiet guest rooms. Each room had a small window facing either the valley or the hills behind the inn. From those windows, the drifting fog could be seen below the porch. At night, the rooms remained quiet and calm, with only the faint sound of the fire downstairs and the distant movement of fog across the valley. The staircase itself made no sound. It simply rose slowly toward the upper floor, where the lantern light rested gently along the wooden rail. Behind the inn, a narrow path continued toward the quiet hills that rose slowly behind the building. The path was made of flat stones placed carefully along the ground. Small lantern posts stood beside it at even spaces, each one glowing softly in the night air. Their light reached only a short distance, leaving the rest of the hillside calm and dark. The path curved gently between low shrubs and small trees before climbing the slope. From there, the inn could still be seen below. Its warm windows and porch lanterns shone through the drifting fog that rested across the valley. The fog moved slowly across the open fields, flowing like a quiet silver tide between the distant hills. The lanterns along the path remained steady, forming a gentle line of light leading upward through the quiet hillside. The air there felt cool and calm, carrying the faint scent of grass and wood from the valley below. Not far from the inn stood an old stone well surrounded by a small circle of smooth ground. The well had been built many years ago, its stones carefully stacked to form a round wall rising just above waist height. A wooden frame stood above it, holding a simple pulley and a rope that hung quietly into the darkness below. Beside the well sat a wooden bucket resting on its side. A lantern hung from the well frame, casting soft light across the stones and the nearby grass. The fog drifting from the valley sometimes reached this part of the hillside, moving slowly between the well and the path before continuing farther up the slope. The lantern light reflected gently on the metal pulley and the smooth rope. The well itself remained silent and still, its dark opening looking down into the cool earth below. The quiet glow of the lantern made the stones appear warm against the surrounding night air. Inside the inn, beyond the common room, a wide kitchen rested quietly at the back of the building. Wooden shelves lined the walls, holding bowls, jars, and cooking pots arranged neatly in rows. A long table stood at the center of the room, its surface clean and clear except for a folded cloth and a small lantern placed near one end. The lantern light spread softly across the wood, leaving gentle shadows along the walls and floor. A large stove rested along one side of the room, its iron surface still warm from earlier in the evening. The kitchen windows looked out toward the hillside path where the lanterns glowed quietly outside. From inside the room, the drifting fog could sometimes be seen passing slowly beyond the glass. The kitchen remained calm and quiet at this hour. Everything inside the room seemed settled and peaceful, waiting quietly for the morning to return. Farther up the lantern path, the hillside opened into a wide grassy slope that overlooked the valley below. From that high place, the fog could be seen stretching across the land like a calm, white ocean. The tops of distant hills rose above the fog like quiet islands beneath the stars. The inn stood at the very edge of this mist, its warm lights glowing gently where the hills met the valley floor. The lantern path behind the inn formed a soft line of light leading down toward the building. The fog moved slowly across the fields below, shifting in soft waves that changed shape over time. The night sky above remained clear and wide. Stars rested across the dark sky while the fog drifted calmly beneath them. From the hilltop, the valley appeared endless and peaceful, with the quiet inn standing at the meeting place between land and mist. As the night continued, the inn remained calm and quiet beside the drifting fog. The porch lanterns glowed softly along the wooden beams. Their light reflected faintly across the mist that moved slowly across the valley. Inside the common room, the fire in the stone fireplace burned lower, leaving gentle embers glowing within the hearth. The staircase and upper hallway rested in soft lantern light. The rooms above the common room remained still and peaceful. Outside, the lantern path and the old well stood quietly beneath the night sky. The fog continued its slow movement across the valley floor, rising and falling in gentle waves that never reached the porch steps. The inn remained steady at the edge of the mist, watching the calm valley through the quiet hours of the night. As the night slowly moved forward, the fog in the valley continued its quiet drifting between the distant hills. From the porch of the inn, the mist looked like a calm sea resting across the land. The lanterns along the porch beams still glowed warmly, their light touching the wooden floor and the stone steps below. The hills behind the inn remained dark shapes beneath the wide sky. Along the lantern path, the lights continued to shine in a soft line climbing the hillside. The fog below shifted slowly, rising and settling again in long, gentle waves. The inn stood exactly where the hills ended and the mist began. Its windows reflected the faint glow of lantern light, while the valley beyond remained calm and quiet beneath the stars. The air held a cool stillness that settled across the fields and the hillside. In that hour before dawn, the entire valley seemed to rest in deep quiet, while the fog continued its slow journey across the land. The wooden porch of the inn remained peaceful through the final hours of the night. The rocking chairs beside the wall rested without movement. Small tables held their lanterns quietly, each one glowing with steady light. The boards of the porch stretched across the front of the inn like a warm wooden platform overlooking the misty valley. Beyond the railing, the fog continued to drift across the fields, moving slowly around the shapes of distant trees and hills. From there, the inn could still be seen below. Its warm windows and porch lanterns shone through the drifting fog that rested across the valley. The fog moved slowly across the open fields, flowing like a quiet silver tide between the distant hills. The lanterns along the path remained steady, forming a gentle line of light leading upward through the quiet hillside. The air there felt cool and calm, carrying the faint scent of grass and wood from the valley below. Slowly, the sky above the distant hills began to change. A soft pale color appeared along the edge of the horizon, where the valley opened toward the east. The fog remained spread across the land, but its color shifted from deep gray to a lighter silver shade. The lanterns along the porch and the hillside path still glowed, though their light seemed softer as the sky brightened. The inn stood calmly between the rising hills and the drifting mist. The wooden beams of the porch and the stone walls of the building slowly became clearer in the gentle early light. The fog continued its slow movement across the valley floor, now touched by the quiet glow of approaching morning. As the first light of morning reached the valley, The fog began to lift slowly from the fields. Thin streams of mist drifted upward between the hills before fading into the cool air. The lanterns along the path behind the inn slowly dimmed as the sky brightened. The porch and the stone steps warmed slightly under the new light of day. The wide valley below appeared clearer now, revealing the gentle curves of the land that had been hidden beneath the fog during the night. The hills rose quietly in the distance, their shape soft against the pale morning sky. The inn remained calm and welcoming at the edge of the valley, just as it had been through the quiet hours of the night. The morning sky slowly filled with soft light above the hills. The fog that had rested across the valley through the night continued to fade as the air warmed. The lanterns along the porch and the hillside path no longer glowed against the daylight. The wooden porch, stone walls, and tall windows of the inn appeared bright and clear in the gentle morning sun. The valley stretched wide beneath the sky, peaceful and open. The quiet road through the hills still led down toward the inn, just as it always had. The inn remained at the edge of the valley where the fog had once rested through the night. Now the mist had lifted and the fields lay calm beneath the open sky. The inn stood quietly beside the hills, waiting for another evening when the fog would return once again to drift across the valley below.